Well, the Senate obviously is divided over Judge Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. Republican Senator Jeff Flake has now, as we've seen, demanded an FBI probe into allegations of sexual assault that have been made against Kavanaugh, which President Trump has now okayed. Let's talk about it. Joining me now to discuss, Alice Stewart, CNN political commentator and Ted Cruz's former communications director, Evan Siegfried, Republican strategist and author of GOP GPS. And Scott Jennings, CNN political commentator and former special assistant to President George W. Bush, is back with us. Welcome, everyone, to the conversation. And Scott, let me start with you. We've had a little more than 12 hours now since the president has ordered this investigation into these accusations. A little time to think of it, maybe a little time to sleep, not much for us these days. Are you convinced that Mitch McConnell is right, that as this goes on, it will be more difficult to vote to support Kavanaugh, or could this investigation be a good thing for him?
Well, it'll be a good thing if it achieves the outcome of getting Senators Flake, Collins, and Murkowski to vote for Kavanaugh. That's obviously the reason Flake asked for it, and if that's the outcome, then that's great. But what I don't think we're going to see is any sort of acceptance from the Democrats of a better process, of the outcome in general. I mean, you already hear people since this saying, well, there shouldn't be a time limit on it, and it doesn't matter what the FBI finds. They should pull Kavanaugh down. You now have Democratic operatives openly talking about impeaching Kavanaugh, whether he makes it to the Supreme Court or stays on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. And so I think Senator Flake wanted this investigation to give these three people a chance to say it was a better process, but I don't think any Democrat is going to go give a floor speech and say, you know what, you're right, we're going to vote for Kavanaugh now. That is a pipe dream.
You're probably right on that last one, but you don't have to go to the Democratic Party for some people who don't support Kavanaugh. You just have to look in the box next to you. Evan Siegfried, you wrote for NBC News weeks before the testimony from Dr. Ford and this latest testimony on Thursday from Judge Kavanaugh, that not only should the Senate vote no, that he should withdraw. Why?
Well, I think I'm the only one on the panel who's actually served in the federal judiciary. And the federal judiciary is about integrity and maintaining the integrity of the rule of law. And the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh have been deemed credible by a sizable enough portion of the nation that he has to withdraw for the integrity of the Supreme Court and its rulings. Any 5-4 decision, which he is in the majority of, would be tainted. And we can't have people questioning the rule of law. Again, it gets back to integrity and impartiality, and that's a big problem. Furthermore, we have also bungled the way we have handled these accusations as a party. I had friends call me in tears Thursday night because they were sexual assault survivors and they were reliving all of the pain because of the hearing. And Dr. Ford came off as incredibly credible, and to an extent Brett Kavanaugh did as well. But hearing that we were going to be having this confirmation vote at 9, or the Senate Judiciary Committee, the vote to advance the judge at 9:30 a.m. the next day, signals to women that we are a party that doesn't care about them, and that's part of a longer standing narrative.
Alice, let's sit just for a second the sexual assault allegations to the side. And I want you and everyone to listen to Judge Kavanaugh on September 4th when he was giving his opening statement, and just on the 27th, just Thursday, through his opening statement on politics. Watch.
The Supreme Court must never be viewed as a partisan institution. The justices on the Supreme Court do not sit on opposite sides of an aisle. They do not caucus in separate rooms. If confirmed to the Supreme Court, I would be part of a team of 9, committed to deciding cases according to the Constitution and laws of the United States. The behavior of several of the Democratic members of this committee at my hearing a few weeks ago was an embarrassment. This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election, fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record, revenge on behalf of the Clintons, and millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups.
And CNN legal analyst Joan Piskupic, who's an expert on the court, wrote this for CNN.com. This is just a portion of it. The result of his rhetoric and the overall tenor of the nomination means he could forever be marked as a politician on the bench rather than a neutral jurist. Did he go too far on Thursday? Alice?
I think history will tell. He went from a man who I see as someone of tremendous integrity and character, and a history in the judicial community that is above reproach and has a lifetime of stellar character that has been put on trial here because of some allegations, and clearly he would have loved to have, and supporters like myself would have loved to have this move forward based on his credentials and his record. Unfortunately, it has taken a different turn, and it has gotten political. But in my view, if we're talking about this area, I don't think this has anything to do with revenge over Trump, over the election, over the Clintons. In my view, this is about the Democrats' fight for abortion and their desire to keep Roe v. Wade, the law of the land, and the vile and the lengths that they are going to protect Roe v. Wade. I think that is what is on display here. And I hope we get through this with Judge Kavanaugh on the bench. But that, in my view, is the underpinning of this entire process that we're going through.
So that's not your view, but Scott, that was his view. And but let's say he gets onto the court, and there will be an issue that comes before the court that falls pretty clearly and cleanly along party lines. His decision will be cast in that context, will it not, and give fodder to those who say that he is a partisan, not a neutral jurist.
Well, people are already saying that. The Democrats already say that anybody that Trump puts on the bench is acting out of partisan interest.
But those were his words. He wrote that.
But we heard Sheldon Whitehouse even, saying, I'm going to vote against Kavanaugh because I think he's going to do the bidding of the corporations in the Republican Party. It won't matter who Donald Trump puts on the bench for the Democrats to say these are all partisan actors. I'd like to address what Evan said earlier, by the way.
Go ahead.
Evan's going one way and the rest of the Republican Party is going the other. In 2 years of Donald Trump, I have never seen an issue that has united the never-Trumpers, the lukewarm Trumpers, the always Trumpers. All corners, all wings of the Republican Party are galvanized in support of Brett Kavanaugh. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody outside of Evan in the Republican Party who does not support Kavanaugh's confirmation at this point.
Who has actually served in the judiciary and actually respects the federal
bench. Well, I
bench.
actually served with Brett Kavanaugh. I know him and you don't. I know him and you don't. And I'm going to defend it.
One at a time.
If you're going to say that I'm standing way out and I'm out away from the Republican
You're outside
Party,
of the mainstream of the party. You absolutely
are. That's fine.
are.
That's absolutely fine. But you're talking politically right now. I'm talking for the integrity of the bench. What the allegations
you want somebody who says they're innocent?
Let him finish. Let him finish, Scott. We'll have time for you.
At the end of the day, these types of allegations would get somebody who is up for a federal magistrate appointment disqualified. And I supported Brett Kavanaugh up until these allegations, which I deemed credible. And I believe that it's for the integrity of the bench, because judges care about the rule of law and the integrity of the institution. We have right now 18% of the country has faith in the federal government and its institutions. Why are we going to lower it? We could get Amy Coney Barrett or some other conservative judge. This is ironic because as somebody who opposed President Trump in the election, this was a nomination where I was behind it until this. We saw theatrics from Democrats in the confirmation hearings. But Dr. Ford's accusations are not theatrics. They are real.
What about the integrity of due process?
Scott,
what about the integrity of the presumption of innocence? What about the integrity of someone under oath saying I'm innocent and respecting that? I don't understand how you can say I'm in the judiciary, but an innocent person
I've seen judges not
accept something that he said he didn't do.
All right, let me get now to Alice and bring you back into this conversation. A control room, I don't know if you saw my email, but I need that soundbite from the exchange between the women at the elevator and Senator Flake. So let me know when you have that. All right, we're not going to wait for it. Let me come to you, Alice. I'm sure you've seen it. Have you seen that exchange of the women there for 5 minutes? All right, let's play it. We've got it. All right, forget the soundbite. We've all seen it. What would you tell those women, Alice, who said that if you vote for him, what you're telling the country is that women who come forward who say that they have been sexually assaulted do not matter? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, I would applaud them for coming out and speaking up and letting their voice be heard. And clearly it resonated. You could see the pain and the compassion on Senator Flake's face, and clearly it made an impact. And he went from telling members of the committee that he would support moving Kavanaugh out of committee to saying, I will support moving him out provided we bring in an FBI to look at this for one more week. It was without a doubt the compelling emotional plea from these women for him to listen to them and let their voice be heard and probe into this further made an impact. I encourage them to go to every other member in Washington that have allegations against them and do the same. Anyone that has sexual allegations or abuse allegations against them, we should look at all of their history, and the same standard should apply for all of them, not just Republicans going for the Supreme Court. We have Democrats out there that also have allegations they are facing, and we all should look at all of them, and it's not just the party issue.
After listening to them and asking for the investigation, still vote yes for Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, certainly we're going to hear the information. We're going to hear the evidence that the FBI brings out. I don't expect it to be anything different than we heard when the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee raised these questions. And yes, I do see that we move forward with the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh, because I don't expect to get any additional information out of the FBI probe than we did from the questions out of the Senate committee.
Alice, Scott, Evan, thank you all.
Thanks, Victor.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, the U.S. military's most expensive fighter jet, an F-35B aircraft like this one, it crashed for the first time. This was in South Carolina near the Marine Corps and Air Station in Beaufort. This happened yesterday. It's in a statement. The Marines say the pilot ejected safely, is being evaluated. There were no civilian injuries here, but the cause of that crash is under investigation now. And there is devastation in Indonesia.
Yeah, this was after a powerful earthquake triggered a tsunami, leaving almost 400 people dead.